Well, what's up, folks? It is again Friday Eve, Thursday night here, another live episode number 35. For you guys have been following along, we thank you for tuning in. We do appreciate it. Tonight, we were supposed to have on Destiny Lugardo, but unfortunately, another thing came up, so she would not be making it. But the good thing is, we always have a fill in, and that fill in is actually Mike Fuji, also known as Vito Corleone. So Vito will actually be on the spotlight tonight as we'll get to know Vito just a little bit more in our get to know segment. Also coming up on this show here, as soon as I bring up the banner, we will have Mike Fuji, of course, the interview. We'll also talk about a little bit of Nick Sirianni, the worst trades in Philly history. So that should be entertaining for those who want to hear and talk about that as well. Of course, at any given point in time, you guys always feel free to comment during the live show. And as we always say on Thursday nights, time's yours. So if you guys have questions for us, by all means, please put it up there on the banners as we will be reading them as they come in. Also, Carson's letter. Did anyone find it kind of odd the way it was written? And almost the goodbye wasn't really a goodbye. It was almost like, yeah, thanks for playing. I'm out of here. So we'll get into the Carson letter just a little bit later on. So lots to do here on the show. And we thank you again for tuning in tonight. Please like, share, subscribe to the page. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well in case anything ever goes wrong here on Facebook so you guys won't miss an episode. So by all means, please tune into the YouTube channel as well. And the link is always on our Facebook platform, on our Twitter, and our Twitch platform. So anytime you guys think you're missing out on the show, please don't think so. You can also catch on the replay right afterwards. So with that all being said, we should get the night fired up. I'm Angel. This is, of course, Broad Street South. So again, thank you guys. And tonight, of course, Destiny will not make it tonight with this evening. So Mike Fuji will be our guest tonight. So we will be asking the hard questions that other people don't want to ask Mike Fuji. So with that being said, I hope he's ready because here is Mike Fuji. You know, the one thing I wish I can see as I here is the people seeing him dance in the background because you guys will get a kick out of it.
I'm not dancing. I'm playing the drums.
What's up, Mikey?
Phil's back. Free agency, the new NFL year going to start soon. Sixers trade rumors in another week or two. Flyers getting players back from the COVID. Some beautiful weather. The snow is all gone in Philly. It's great. Fired up. It's Friday Eve. Thursday Eve. Friday Eve. My fault, folks. I can't. No, I'm not drinking. Just saying.
It's okay. We understand. And, of course, we can't do the other half of the show without the man who finds and defines sports and sports contribution. It is Mike Sherman. Sherman, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How you guys doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
I couldn't do any better with as Mikey had pointed out. So therefore, I'm not, kind of showboating here, but an 82 beautiful blue sky degree weather today. And I'm pretty sure the Phillies down here in Clearwater absolutely loved it. So yeah, I'm still trying to send the heat up your way, but I don't know how much that's working out for you guys.
It's a lot warmer. All that snow's practically gone now. Thank God. I'm done with winter. I'm done with snow. Bring on the spring. Bring on the boys of summer.
No, I completely agree. Well, tonight, as we said, it is going to be Fuji's getting to know Fuji tonight. So, again, we'll be asking all the hard questions that maybe CNN or Fox or no one wants to ask. So, by all means, tune in. But before we get that underway, of course, we like to thank and always appreciate, as soon as I bring it up here, our friends from Last Out Media. And Last Out Media, they're always the first in, but the last out. And Last Out Media is always here for you. It's a podcast for the creative community. So if you guys are wanting to be podcasters, if you are thinking about becoming a podcaster, if you need coaching lessons, anything you may possibly need, always think about Last Out Media. You can go to lastoutmedia.com, text and or call 267-902-8972. You can also listen live, and they do have an assortment of shows. If I can scroll down here so you guys can see, very informative writers. And obviously the post there, but they also have shows on there as well. So if you guys want to check out Last Out Media, by all means, please reach out to those guys. They're a fun group of guys for sure. So let me take this away from the screen for a second. And so tonight being the not only the co-host here of Broad Street South, also a good friend, obviously, of the show because he is on the show. So Mike, not too many people as we kind of go along, and I see the comments coming in here. I do see, obviously, with things going awry and obviously with COVID around and everything else, and I'm pretty sure, like you, the rest of us are pretty much tired of hearing the same three things that we know that we should be doing at this point. But I want to ask Mike, originally, are you from Philadelphia? And as far as the family history background, where is the family from?
Born and raised in Philly. My dad is from South Philly, which he still resides, and my mom is originally from West Oak Lane.
So everybody always ends up saying local. So now during, I guess for you, and obviously your younger years, you are a little bit older now at this point, just a shade over 21. But as a child, we all have our different childhood memories. We always like to say we're going to be one thing, and obviously it turns out to be something completely different. So as a child, what was the one person or place or even thing that you wanted to be as you became an adult?
From a young age, a baseball player. Ate, drank, and slept Philly sports. Flyers was my first love. When they won the Stanley Cups, my mom got me a Flyers jersey, the second. Guess it was 2 or 3. I had a little miniature hockey stick yelling score when they won the cup and my jersey running down Oxford Valley Mall.
Okay. Sherman?
Well, as the best friend of Fuji Corleone, Mike Fiordamondo up there, I know a lot of information, even without asking the questions. But to give you the opportunity to boast a little bit to all of your adoring fans out there, talk about your athletic prowess as a child, playing for the Mayfair Shamrocks, competing in swimming competitions, playing basketball and baseball. Show off to us. Tell us about your athletic prowess that you had growing up.
I played baseball for the Mayfair Shamrocks as I was young. I played softball for a law firm as a ringer with an old neighbor of mine. Played basketball for the Mayfair Shamrocks. Played a little football and swam a lot. So,
now,
my athleticism, pretty much, I played sports for a good 15, 20 years.
Now, did you ever get the game-winning hit in any of those games? You said you were brought in as a ringer for that law firm for the softball team. Was there ever a game, bottom of the 7th inning, team's down 13-12, and you step up to the plate and drive home a single to bring home a couple players? Game-winning hit, walk-off style?
Nah, there were a couple games the team was down, and I brought them back with like a double or triple. Knocked in a couple runs, but not a game-winning RBI, but to take the lead and tie the game up. Did it one time in the softball league as a pinch hitter in the playoffs.
And for those who may not know, Fuji is left-handed, so beware the left-handed hitter. I'm sure that he can hit to all fields, whether it's pulling the ball or driving the ball to center. I know his athletic prowess as a youngster and as an adult as well.
No, it's funny as obviously when we grow up, as kids we always I think that the big thing has always been I want to be a baseball player, I want to be a fireman, I want to be a cop. Obviously, we're into 2021. If you erase the years that those of us who have been around probably since the 70s, when being a cop back then was something because it was gratifying, and it still is today. Don't get me wrong. But it's one of those things like, man, if I was walking around, the city of Philadelphia and being a cop, everyone had respect for me. Now it's different times, so maybe not as much. Maybe those cops will become baseball players to make their lives a little bit easier. So, Fuji, as you were growing up, I would ask, I guess, for you, whether it's a friend, whether it's your mom and dad, who was the one that you looked up to the most?
I would say it was my great uncle, who was my grandmother's younger brother, who raised me, as a father figure, and was elderly, but was probably my biggest supporter and an idol of mine, along with my mom. But just the male figure, the alpha male, just having that in my life at the time growing up.
Right.
That's who I would say.
Okay. Now, Tom asked, did you play any high school sports?
Played football freshman year. That was it.
That was it?
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm getting in my ear here that you were the champion of pocket pull. Is that correct?
What was it?
The champion of pocket pull.
Funny.
No, but obviously,
bad jokes, huh?
Yeah, just tonight, just a little bit, just to have fun. But no, obviously, the big thing, as we talk about family, obviously being kids and everything else, the relationship, which below me is the sports contributor, the relationship that you guys had. So, did you both meet as kids? And then grew up. I know we talked about it, last week a little bit with Rob and Remy, but the history behind it. How did you two guys actually become friends?
You want to go, Mike? It's your call.
Well, it's it goes way back, right? So his dad and my dad both worked for PennDOT, Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, and just growing up. We ended up at the same summer camp and the same swim club. We went to Tarkin Day Camp, and Mike lived on the one side of the boulevard, and I lived on the other side of the boulevard, and it was great. The two of us and my brother Dave, we would go to that Tarkin Day Camp, and day camps have, there's definitely some differences in day camps nowadays. Unfortunately, because I've had the opportunity to work in the Department of Recreation and see summer camps, and there's always going to be the person who's a little bit bigger, a little bit older, a little bit stronger, who's going to try to find a way to take over the camp. And growing up, I was not one of those people. And, I got pushed around a little bit. I probably still get pushed around a little bit now, right? That's all right. But, Mike, my brother and I, we kind of stuck together. And, I was the youngest of the three. And, just the bond through camp and swim club and, our families knowing each other was always a great time. I'll never forget. It was a Saturday night. And this is when VCRs were first coming out. And my parents rented Eddie Murphy Delirious. If you remember Eddie Murphy Delirious, right? And yeah. There I am, 11 years old, and Mike is 12, my brother's 13, and we're sitting in the living room watching Eddie Murphy Delirious on a Saturday night. And it was absolutely awesome. And we didn't, it was amazing to us that our parents would let us watch something, with all these curse words going on the show, back when Eddie Murphy was at the prime of his career. But, yeah, I would say through the summer camp and the swim club that we belonged to, we bonded, and it just went on from there. Like I said, we didn't go to the same elementary school or middle school or even high school growing up, so it's great that we were able to keep that bond, in our younger years.
Very true.
The man of few words. Thank you, Sean, for enlightening us.
So, Mike, I'll ask you this. So sports is obviously an integral part of your life. And one of the things that I know about you is the fact that you're an Eagles season ticket holder, because I was an Eagles season ticket holder with you for a few years. Can you tell the viewers out there how did you become an Eagles season ticket holder? Is there an interesting story that goes with that? Who brought you into it?
Well, it was my neighbor who lived out back from me. It's when Norman Brayman first bought the team. The tickets were $80 for the season. I guess they were, $10 a game? And I was about 14, so he asked me if I wanted to go in on them. It's like, yeah, sure. What was it 84? No, 85. From there, I never, really looked back. Fell in love with Randall Cunningham, Buddy Ryan, Jerome Brown, Seth Jewin, Reggie White, and the list goes on. And ever since then, the Eagles took my heart. As you see, my background here looks like a shrine. So I had my season tickets for 35 years now.
That's fantastic. What are your most memorable Eagles games, specifically at Veterans Stadium? We can talk about Lincoln Financial Field a little bit later. But what are your most memorable Eagles games that you were at Lincoln at Veterans Stadium, whether it was a win or a loss?
I was at the playoff game when they beat the Lions in the wild card, 57-38. I was at, of course, the game I don't want to remember is the last game at the Vet against Tampa Bay.
Were you at the game when Montana brought the 49ers back with the 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter against the Eagles?
No, I was not at that game.
You were not. Ironically, that's one of the few games at the Vet that I was at before I got my season tickets. That was a crazy game.
Yeah. I mean, as far as the link, was it the 2003 game with you when they lost to Carolina? Was it the 2004 NFC title game when we beat Atlanta? We were at the 4th and 26, me, you, and Sam, when Freddie Mitchell was at the championship game when we beat Minnesota. Most of the games at the link I was at, playoff-wise.
Yeah, and, that's quite a fascinating array of games that you were at. I remember the one game that we went to that you didn't mention was the wild card game when the Eagles played Atlanta. It was a Saturday night game. And I got to say, with the wind howling that night, that was the coldest that I had ever experienced down there at Lincoln Financial Field. It was absolutely crazy.
It was the game when Brian Dawkins laid out Michael Vick at the 2-yard line.
Yes.
Forgot about that game.
Yeah. Oh, absolute classic game.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
Now, aside from having the Eagles season tickets for 35 years at Lincoln Financial Field and formerly Veterans Stadium, you also have had the opportunity to work at Citizens Bank Park. So the sports is really in your blood. So let me ask this first. Did you work at Veterans Stadium as well, or was it only Citizens Bank Park?
No, I worked at a Veterans Stadium for a couple of years, and then went over to the CBP.
Were you at the final game that the Phillies played at Veterans Stadium before moving across the street to Citizens Bank Park?
At that time, I wasn't working there, but I was at that game with my mom.
You were at that game with your mom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One of the games that I went to was when the Phillies had their 10,000th loss all time when they played the Cardinals on that Sunday night baseball game. Were you working at the stadium that night?
Yeah, I was there. I remember you were there with Dave.
Yeah. Absolutely crazy stuff there. So can you talk to us a little bit about some of your memorable experiences working at Citizens Bank Park, whether it was for a Phillies game or a Billy Joel concert or a Jimmy Buffett concert or, anything that you would like to share with the fans?
Well, the ultimate was the 2008 World Series. I was working throughout the playoffs by Section 101 next to the bullpen and just, seeing those guys warm up like, J.C. Romero to Ryan Madsen with the bridge to Lidge. And, just actually that game, the rain out it felt like it took forever to get back to the park the night that the Phillies won the World Series. Because if everybody remembers, it rained like 2 nights in a row. And it's just like, when the hell is this going to end? The game picked up back in the 6th inning. The night we won the series, the place was rocking. Like, everybody knew going into the stadium that night, we were going to win it. Like, you could just feel it in the city. The vibe was just electrifying. And I just remember when I believe Pedro Feliz knocked in the go-ahead run. It was just, place was just going nuts. Nobody was in their seats. Everybody was standing. I was walking back like a bull in a china shop. And when Lidge you were waiting just like the 25-year drought to just end. Like, for every Philly fan, no matter Flyers, Sixers, Eagles, Phillies, I mean, the curse was gone. The curse of Billy Penn was dead. Just everything was surreal when that final out between Lidge and Carlos Ruiz, and Lidge just going down there, and Ruiz jumping and Ryan Howard right on top, and Victorino, J-Roll, and everybody. It was just amazing. Like, one of the biggest thrills ever in my life. I mean, just to be there and just to witness a 25-year drought being lifted from all our shoulders in Philly, it was amazing. I would say that was the best memorable time there. Remember working when we played the Dodgers in 2009 and Jimmy Rollins hit the game-winning RBI when he hit the double in right center field.
Off of Jonathan Broxton. Yeah, I was at that game. That was absolutely insane as well.
That pretty much broke the back of the Dodgers. Another memorable moment, it was back in 2008 when Brett Myers was fouling all pitches from CC Sabathia. He walked and Victorino came up and hit the grand slam. And just thinking of that now, I'm getting chills. I could see that ball clearing the left field line, and that place erupted like a damn volcano.
Now remind us, was that game 1 or game 2 against the Brewers? Do you know for sure? I don't remember off the top of my head.
I want to say it was game 1.
I want to say it was game 1. I thought it was game 2, but it's quite possible that it was game 1.
But that place just went off. I could just picture now just being right there by the bullpen. And like I said, another electrifying game.
Now, did you have the opportunity to work the game when Halladay pitched his no-hitter against the Reds in the playoffs?
Yes, I did. I forgot about that too.
Yeah, that's another amazing game. One of those.
Yeah, that was incredible. Just standing there watching Doc throw a clinic that night, and between him and Chooch, just the cohesiveness they had, as battery mates was just amazing. Like, just the way that place went crazy that night too was just to see a no-hitter. I mean, I saw that no-hitter there, and I saw Josh Beckett when he was with the Dodgers throw a no-hitter against the Phillies.
Were you at the Millwood game or the Mulholland game when they threw their no-hitters?
No, Mulholland was in 90 and Millwoods was in 03.
03, yeah, that sounds right.
I did work a lot of concerts. I worked Billy Joel 3 or 4 times. Billy Joel with Elton John, Jimmy Buffett, Jay-Z and Beyonce, Jay-Z and Justin Timberlake, Bruce Springsteen, Paul McCartney. There's a couple others I can't rethink at the moment, but.
Well, it's still quite an array of, very well-known singers and performers who you've had the opportunity to be in the same room where it's happening. Let's switch gears for a little bit. Let's talk about the classic foods of Philadelphia, whether you talk about cheesesteaks, soft pretzels, water ice, and stuff like that, because our fans need to know, right? So let's talk about the cheesesteak first. Are you an American with, or are you a whiz with, or are you whiz without?
Whiz or American are really provolone.
Ah, really provolone. Okay. And are you going for the fried onions, or are you
No,
against the onions?
absolutely fried onions.
Absolutely. I'm an American with. Now, Angel, I know that it's been a while since you've been in Philadelphia, but when you were in Philadelphia, are you an American with? Are you whiz with? Are you whiz without? Provolone
Yeah,
without?
whiz with definitely all the way every time. That's one of those scenes as a child when we went down there first time to Ninth and Wharton, which that's, by the way, good point there, Sherman, because a lot of times when you ask people here, by the way, if you had a Philly cheesesteak, oh yeah, down in South Philly. Exactly where in South Philly? Because you don't say Ninth and Wharton. You didn't get a cheesesteak down there from South Philly. So as a kid, I do remember and it was kind of like my dad. He was like, "You're gonna take whatever they give you." And mind you, my dad had no idea what. And first of all, what a cheesesteak was. You don't know what they put on there. And walked up to the window. The guy was like, "Where's with?" Told my dad did was like shake his head like, "Yeah, okay," and that was it. So yeah, whiz with definitely. And there's a place down here, Richie's Cheesesteaks down in Spring Hill in Hernando County, exactly like South Philly. I mean, bar none. John Kruk tried, failed miserably, but Richie's in Spring Hill knocks it out the park.
Now, is the meat chopped real fine, or is it the slabs of meat? Now,
Nope,
there's
they
two
chop.
differences now.
Yeah, so you can get it chopped if you want to. You can get it slab, but they do get the bread from back home, which the bread makes obviously a sandwich. So they get Amoroso bread from Philly, shipped daily down there down to the restaurant. So that's when you know you're getting a real true Philly cheesesteak. Not this, you go somewhere to like Hooters or something. Give me a Philly cheesesteak, and it looks like Steakum, and a sandwich like that big, and there's no oil, there's nothing else. It's like, here you go, it's perfection. No, we don't want perfection. We want the Philly goods.
If you're going to Hooters for a cheesesteak, I don't know what to tell you. You're getting what you pay for. I don't know about that.
Yeah. Rick says we may not have Patricinos, but we have Wawa here in Florida yet, which is very true.
Well, little known fact, Pats and Geno's are not the best cheesesteaks in Philadelphia. They are the most well known, that is for sure. I'll agree with Rick there, but I am not going to say that they're the best cheesesteaks in Philadelphia.
Send Dave a cheesesteak.
Oh my God, Flamingo. We're going to have to get you a cheesesteak. You'll you come down here, come to my favorite place.
All right, there you go, Sherman. You can do an exchange. Boston clam chowder for a cheesesteak. Because you can't get clam chowder anywhere. I don't care who you are, unless you're up in the New England area. The finest. Florida has one or two places that come pretty close, but still nothing like when you go to New England and get Boston clam chowder. So that could almost be like a future bet for whatever goes on between the Phillies and maybe the Red Sox. Put it that way.
Yeah, you don't have good seafood in Florida, right there by the Gulf.
Oh no, you got plenty, but it's like everything else. You got plenty good seafood. Don't get me wrong. Down here in Florida, it's like when you go to Maryland. Same exact way. You got great seafood when you go to Maryland, but still, it's certain places just make certain things. And Boston clam chowder is. I mean, it doesn't get more New England than that. I just put it there.
Don't start talking with the New England accent. No offense.
Now, since Sherman brought up a point here, and if we want to go back a little bit in the time, as we're going into our Philly segment, this might maybe it'll bring a tear or two or not. It's not too long, but it's obviously it's a flashback here.
Fans on their feet. Rally towels are being waved. Brad stretches. The 0-2 pitch.
Swing it a bit.
Struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball. Brad Lidge does it again and stays perfect for the 2008 season. 48 for 48 in save opportunities, and let the city celebrate. Don't let the 48-hour wait diminish the euphoria of this moment and the celebration. And it has been 28 years since the Phillies have enjoyed a world championship. 25 years in this city that a team has enjoyed a world championship, and the fans are ready to celebrate. What a night. Phil's winning 4-3. As Brad Lidge gets the job done once again.
Yeah.
Great
That
memory.
I will. Yeah. I will say. Go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, just hearing Harry Callis probably 6 months before he died, making that call was amazing. Actually, here's another memory of me in grade school. When I was in third grade, Harry Callis came to my grade school and I got his autograph and met him. Actually, still have the autograph. Very nice man. One of the teachers there was a ball girl for the Phillies, and apparently her sister knew Harry Callis pretty well. So he came to the school and spoke, in the auditorium. But just to see Harry make that call, I mean, it's Philly all the way.
Yeah. Still got mine from Citizens Bank Park when I was here. They had the commemoration to Harry Callis. So I still have mine sitting right here on the desk. It doesn't go anywhere.
Harry Callis during the 7th inning stretch at one of those games, I believe it was still at Veterans Stadium, but I made, as far as I'm concerned, this is a story I'm going with, I made eye contact right with Harry Callis during the 7th inning stretch, and he went to throw me a bag of peanuts from his booth, and, somebody undercut me and ended up getting the bag of peanuts. But as far as I'm concerned, Harry Callis, he made eye contact. He looked right at me, and I was looking at him, and he threw him right in my direction, and, somebody snagged him out of the way. So there's my Harry Callis story.
It's just like a little kid going for a foul ball and some idiot moron grown-up taking it.
Okay, so let's talk about this for a minute, because I feel very strongly about this, and this might not be a popular opinion. I am 47 years old. I've been going to baseball games my entire life. I don't have season tickets, but I've been to my share of games, and not just in Philadelphia, all around the country. I've been to over 20 baseball stadiums. If I ever catch a foul ball, not grabbing it from a kid, but if I ever catch a foul ball, I am keeping that foul ball. I will gladly give a deserving kid $20, buy your own souvenirs, buy your cotton candy, buy a shirt, but I am keeping that foul ball. Sorry, I'm keeping the foul ball. I've waited for 47 years of my life to catch a foul ball. If I legitimately catch it, that baby is mine. Now, if I was to grab it out of the jaws of a kid's hands, that's something completely different. But I'm sorry. If I catch the ball, I am keeping that ball. I'll gladly give the kid $20. That's why anytime I go to a baseball game, I always got to make sure I have an extra 20 on me, just in case I'm going to catch a foul ball, so that I might have to give a 20 to a kid.
Won't even give him 100 because the poor kid's going to end up crying his eyes out. at least give him a $100 bill.
$100 bill?
Why not? That's definitely at least worth $100.
Okay, so maybe I need to up it to $100.
It's a keepsake. Come on.
It's
a little child.
Well, what do the rest of the fans think? I'd be curious to know. Have any of the fans out there who are watching the show tonight ever caught a foul ball or a hockey puck or a football or a basketball or anything like that? Because I would love to hear that experience of whether you gave it to a kid or not, or whether you kept it for yourself.
Have some heart.
I'm keeping it. Sorry. If I caught a home run ball, I am keeping that ball. They'll have to throw me on the field. They'll have to throw me on the field. I'm keeping that ball.
And Rick says I can give you mine from the World Series, but it came from a party Phillies had at the Franklin Institute. So yeah, I don't think you want to give that one away.
No, it's all about the experience of catching the ball yourself. I could easily go to a souvenir shop and buy some ball. Listen, on my honeymoon, I met Pete Rose in Las Vegas, and I got him to sign a ball, and I paid a decent amount of money for it, and that's still proudly displayed in my house. But that's not the same experience as catching a foul ball or a home run ball when you go to a game.
I didn't know you had that displayed.
Oh, it's somewhere in my house, absolutely.
Don't tell me that.
It's funny you're talking about different sports balls, right? And I went to a Ravens game when the stadium was it when it first opened. Right when it first opened, when there was something. I think it was a lacrosse tournament, if I remember correctly, that was playing that day because they had it between Philly and Maryland. So we ended up going, and Brian, what was the former Belichick?
Brian
former
Billick.
Ravens.
Brian Billick.
So the former Ravens coach. So he's the next row right over from us. And so Chris, which I call my brother, he lives up in St. Augustine. He was with me, and I believe his brother was right next to us as well. Well, we see the coach, but we didn't say anything because, like, all right, he's here, he's kind of enjoying the venue, and no one has a football. You're at a lacrosse game. So no, I'm lying. Sorry, Oriole Park, because we were at a baseball game. So this guy sees him, gives it the deer in headlights look, and makes a beeline for the stairs. When he comes back down, he goes to his seat, comes back up, and he says, would you mind signing this for me? No lie. Brian takes the ball and looks at him and says, don't you think it's a wrong ball? And then hands it right back to him. So he even signed. Now, mind you, of course, where are you going to find an NFL football at a baseball stadium in the middle of the summer? Chances are slim to none. And then when the guy started walking away, I don't know if it was the agent, manager, whomever it is that deals as far as with head coaches. He's like, hey, come back. And then eventually he ended up signing the ball anyways. But I'm like, dude, seriously? Like, I understand we got jokes and everything else, but I mean, you broke the guy's heart. Like he had the little kid look in his eyes like, coach is going to sign my ball. And I just thought it was kind of bizarre what coach did. And maybe that's why he was gone final year, but who the hell knows? But as far as going back to the memories at Citizens Bank Park, so I do remember as far as Veterans Stadium, my dad and I being there in 1980, being a 10-year-old little lad there, going to the game, seeing the Phillies winning the World Series, then making the walk up to City Hall. And then once we made the walk up to City Hall, we kind of like looked around and said, hey, do you realize we got to walk all the way back? Because at the time, the L didn't run overnight for the most part. So we ended up walking all the way back. And then fast forward to 2008. And I think the only thing that saved the city that night, obviously because of 2 rain delays, was the game finished 2 hours earlier than what it previously would on a normal World Series, final game night. And I mean, just living that moment, you can almost kind of look at yourself like, oh my God, I can't believe it. We're about to do this all over again. And I don't know how long it'll be before we get to do it all over again in Philly again, but it was that long stretch of not winning a World Series. I mean, you figure it was a long stretch for every team as far as when it came to Philly. So that was one of the longest stretches, obviously the Eagles being the longest one. But as far as when it came to the Phillies, because you figured, and we'll get into the worst trades, you had Cliff Lee who came in here and could have probably end up, winning one with Doc Holliday the same year here, but Raj decided, nope, let's get rid of him. One of the worst trades ever because we didn't get anything for him. But we'll break that down here a little bit. But it was, by all means, the best experience I've ever had at Citizens Bank Park, other than going to opening day the year that I moved down here, because I made sure I stayed home for one more opening day, and then watching Howie Roseman and our former head coach coming out there with the NFL trophy and obviously getting the proper accolades because the Eagles just winning the Super Bowl, obviously, the year before. So two of my greater memories at Citizens Bank Park. Rick says, I can have Vito sign it. And David says, a tribute to the 3 players who hit Grand Slams at games I attended: Juan Samuel, Pat Burrell, and Trotnick. There's a name I haven't heard, a blast from the past.
Played for the Red Sox.
Yeah. So, well, as we're going to get into the Philly stuff here, and before we get into it, of course, we also would like to thank For the Bay Clothing Company, because don't forget, guys, we do support small businesses now. For the Bay Clothing Company is locally here in Tampa, run by a husband and wife team named Dave and Allison. And of course, Tampa, now known as Champa Bay, for obvious reasons, because of the Stanley Cup. Obviously, Super Bowl 55, which you guys can see right there. He's got a great collection of shirts and hats. And these shirts that you see right here, as you can see my mouse moving around, they are of great quality material. So it's not like you're buying a shirt and supporting, something that you can wash and wear and never wear it again. For the Bay Clothing Company makes quality items. So by all means, please, guys and girls, take a look at For the Bay Clothing Company. And when you sign up or when you look at the website, you'll get a 10% off if you want to become a crew member. And sometimes it even goes up to 20%. So by all means, visit For the Bay Clothing Company. That's forthebayclothingcompany.com. And again, Dave and Allison, I mean, just great material and stuff they end up having. So, well, the Phillies, of course, are down here in spring training in Clearwater, enjoying themselves and enjoying the warm weather that is Florida. This morning started about 55 degrees. For some people, it was like, oh my God, it's so cold. But if you're from up north, that's like a 65-degree weather day, I guess, if you want to, kind of make a reference to it. But it wasn't bad whatsoever. But the guys are down here. They're getting ready to start their home opener coming up this Sunday. And speaking of the home openers, I just learned today that the ballpark was no longer considered Spectrum Field, they are now considered Baycare Ballpark. So the Phillies made a statement today on their website was when the Phillies take the field for their upcoming Grapefruit League home opener on March 1st. The day before that Sunday, they will be in Lakeland against the Detroit Tigers with their home opener. So that Monday, they come home to play. They will be doing so at the newly named Baycare Ballpark. The Phillies announced today that their longtime affiliate Baycare Health System is taking on an even more involved role as the team's new naming rights partner for their spring training facility in Clearwater, Florida. As part of this 6-year agreement with a 5-year renewal option, Baycare Ballpark is the name for the official home of the Phillies spring training and the Threshers, the club's low-A affiliate. In addition, Baycare Health System will be the exclusive healthcare system provider for the Phillies Florida market. And of course, for those who don't know, because you're viewing your show maybe from Colorado or back home in Philadelphia, so the Baycare Network is a network of hospitals down here in Florida, probably one of the premiers next to Tampa General. But Baycare has in clinics, they also have a hospital, so they are now the primary sponsors that used to be Spectrum Field, now will be called Baycare Ballpark. So I just kind of want to put that out there. But so we haven't heard too much from the team, obviously, as they're doing warm-ups and stuff. I do have a couple clips to show here from Reese warming up. They got some invitees, some non-roster invitees. I'm going to bring it up here on the screen. If you guys can see, it's pictures, Neftali Felix, Brandon Kitzler, Brian Mitchell, Ivan Nova, Hector Rondo, and Michael. So, Yona, I don't know if the names sound familiar to you guys, but apparently so far, I guess they've been doing somewhat okay, even though they are non-roster ones, but if they're trying out for a spot, whether it be in low A affiliates down here in Clearwater, whether they go back home to Reading and or York with Iron Pigs, not too much as far as what's to be expected out of these guys, but it seems like the Phillies and the bullpen are starting to go on the right track. So, Sherman, I guess I'll start with you. The expectations this year when it comes to the Phillies, and we know the bullpen was supposed to be more worked on. When he talked about spending stupid money, what was it, like the last season, if I remember correctly? The bullpen, has it improved from last season, or does it seem to be the same, I guess, stagnant bullpen from last season?
I think it's going to be somewhat improved. The Phillies went and they got Archie Bradley, and they're hoping that Archie Bradley will be the closer for this team. So if you can have a defined role of who's going to close games for the Philadelphia Phillies in Archie Bradley and give Hector Neris a completely different role, I think that'll help the team. As much as I like Neris, I know that Neris messed up a lot of games in his tenure with the Phillies, but now that Neris most likely is not going to be the closer at the end of the games, if he knows going in that he's going to be the 7th inning guy or the 8th inning guy, I think that can take some undue pressure off of Neris and put some of the pressure on Archie Bradley. And in a situation, if Archie Bradley doesn't do well or if he gets injured, it's a long season, so who knows what's going to happen. The Phillies do have somebody in Neris who can close games. They're also going to have a full year of having JoJo Romero, right? And having a left-hander come out of the pen. He was pretty successful last year in the 60-game season, but he wasn't there the entire 60 games. And I know that he had his flubs. Everybody does. But I like the stuff that he had when he came into games. And if he's the defined left-hander to come in to games, I think that the Phillies can have a better bullpen than that historically bad one that they had last year. Personally, I don't like the fact that they got rid of Adam Morgan. You can never have enough left-handers on a team going up against some of these big bats, especially when you think about the Phillies and the Braves being in the National League East. And if you need a left-hander to come in to pitch to somebody like Freddie Freeman, you want to be able to have somebody like JoJo Romero or Adam Morgan to come in there.
Oh, don't forget they got Ranger Suarez in the bullpen, too. He's a left-hander.
Yeah, and, if he can be effective this year, that'll definitely be a good punch, good shot in the arm for the Phillies to solidify that bullpen. But look, the best way to improve your bullpen is ultimately by having a strong starting rotation. If your starting rotation is only able to go an average of 5 innings per game, then you got to rely on your bullpen too much, right? That's where Aaron Nola needs to step up and give you at least 6 2/3 innings per game. You need Zach Wheeler to be that ground ball pitcher to give you 6 2/3 per game. And, a huge component, and it really might not be fair, I think is going to be Zach Eflin. Zach Eflin most likely is going to be thrown in as the number 3 starter for this team. And I know that he has had some success with some complete games in the past, but then he's had some other games where he totally blew up, right? If you think about that game last year where the Phillies played the Braves, it was the Saturday night special where they wore those maroon jerseys from head to toe. I believe Zach Eflin was pitching that game, and the Phillies lost, like, I don't know, like 100-3 or something like that. Like, it was terrible. And Zach Eflin was on the mound. So you never know what you're going to get from him. But the best way to have a good bullpen is when you can use them effectively and conserve them. And the starting pitching has to do its job this year.
Right. Tom, sorry if we should cut you off here for a second, but Tom says, what do you guys think about Spencer Howard moving forward?
It's got a lot of upside. I mean, between him and Alec Baum coming into the full season, Spencer Howard competing for a starting position, starting in a role in the starting pitching. I mean, can't think of the word. I'm sorry. Tongue-tied. I mean, the sky is the limit for him. I mean, he's like the number 1 pitcher in the minor league system. So hopefully he'll be able to get a chance to showcase his talent. And, Alec Baum came close to winning the MVP. Not the MVP, Rookie of the Year. And, hopefully these guys will step right into the roles and be able to contribute early and be consistent throughout the season. In the National League East, which I think it's a 5-team race. I mean, the Braves are still probably the head and shoulders. I mean, the Mets made some nice moves. Washington picked up a couple veteran pitchers. Florida's right there with their talent. I don't know how they groom the talent, where they get it from, but I wish the hell the Phillies could groom talent like that. But I think it's a 5-team race, and the Phils win 87 games this year.
Wow, that's a lot. I mean, I don't see the Phillies cracking 500 this year. I just think overall that their starting pitching is not good enough, as much as I would hope that they would be good enough. I think Nola will be very good. I think that Wheeler will be very good. After that, I just think that there's too many question marks between Eflin, Vince Velasquez, Spencer Howard, and Matt Moore, and like any of these other guys that they brought in. To answer Tom's question, it's a 162-game season, and people do get hurt. It's just the nature of the game. I think Spencer Howard will get the opportunity to start some games for the Phillies. Will he start as the number 4, number 5 person in the rotation? That remains to be seen. Let him earn the job and win it in spring training.
Well, I think Dave Dombrowski's brought in, they're not flashy names, but sometimes the big flashy names aren't the best. I mean, he's picking up guys like Matt Moore, which this team's needed a left-handed starter for the last couple of years. He brought in Chase Anderson. The biggest moves aren't always the best. I mean, sometimes like the moves under the radar are the best ones to contribute.
Think back to when the Phillies acquired Joe Blanton at the deadline in 2008. Everybody was screaming about that. Joe who from the Oakland who? Like, and he was an integral part of that team. Is he Cole Hamill status? No, but he was on that team and hit a memorable home run in the World Series. And Mike, you're absolutely right. Sometimes, you make those nickel and dime moves rather than the big splash. And sometimes it pays off. Let's see how San Diego does over the next 14 years now that they've signed Fernando Tatis to a $340 million contract.
Yeah.
That doesn't always work out.
Well, he'll end up in New York or Boston or out on the left coast, right down in L.A. You know how it is. The big teams with all the money always get the big names. That's just how it is in baseball.
Well, it's the same way. I mean, I've always told my sister when it comes to New York Yankees, they bought all their championships. And do I still stand to it to this day? Yeah. I think last season it was probably the first one, and maybe even the year before was the first time that I actually seen the Yankees actually. And I know because my cousin, I got a bunch of New Englanders that are Yankees fans, but it was the first time that I can actually see the Yankees fighting for actually trying to get back into the playoffs and doing well. So, but the other ones bought and paid for easily, especially with the Steinbrenner. So no surprise here.
And this is where I'm going to jump in about Joe Girardi. All right, the two of you may know, and the fans may know. I don't know. I don't care. I'm going to throw it out there. I am not the biggest Joe Girardi fan. Look, I know that he had success early in his career when he took the Marlins to the World Series. But when you think back to 2009, when the Yankees won the World Series against the Phillies, Girardi was the manager of that team. But look at the stacked talent that he had. And now he's coming to Philadelphia, and there isn't stacked talent on this team. And last year, I know that it was a COVID-shortened season, but I thought that there were a lot of questionable moves that he made, leaving Andrew McCutchen in the leadoff spot for as long as he did. Rhys Hoskins, who had a decent on-base percentage, he walked a lot, but he wasn't really hitting for average that much. I just questioned, the way that he handled his lineup. I thought that he took some pitchers out prematurely, which cost him some games. And look, the Phillies didn't miss the playoffs by too many games last year. I think it was one, right? So, if Girardi had made some better moves, the Phillies could have been in the playoffs. Look, would they have beaten the Dodgers? Probably not. But I'm definitely going to have the microscope on Girardi this year because I want to see the moves that he makes with a team with less talent. And you're going into a season where he's not going to be able to rely on the designated hitter. He's going to have to rely on the pitcher coming up the bat every 2 or 3 innings to potentially bunt and move the guys over from one base to another. And I want to see how he does with that.
I believe the Phillies finished third at 28-32 last year. I mean, you got to remember last year, the MLB and the Players Association were going back and forth. We're going to play. No. Are we playing? Yeah. It was like ring around the rosy. I mean, it's ridiculous. Oh, let's play so many games of a season. Let's play a 60-game season. Let's see what Joe does this year. He's got some better pieces Dombrowski brought in, and take it from there. I mean, last year it was like sports was just like a wash. I mean, you might as well put the damn asterisk next to every all four major sports.
Well, he has Alec Boehm for an entire year this year. And Mike, as you said, he almost won Rookie of the Year. So let's see where Girardi places him in the lineup. Defensively for right now, he may be a liability. He's never going to be as good as Maikel Franco was. But offensively, Alec Boehm looks to be the real deal. And he looks like he can hit anywhere in the lineup, whether it be leadoff, second, third, fourth, fifth. I hope that Girardi puts him in the right place and that he excels.
I think he could hit 25 to 30 home runs.
Agreed.
Honestly.
Agreed. 100%.
He carries that big stick. As Harry used to say about Dutch Dalton, but let's see.
It's going to be really interesting to see what Girardi does with the lineup. I know we had Rob Motti on last week, and I had asked about Bryce Harper leading off, and Rob Motti said, "Why not put your best player at the top of the lineup?" I don't think Girardi's going to do that. I think he's going to stay with Andrew McCutchen, and I'm just not sure why. To everybody listening out there, Andrew McCutchen is no longer the MVP caliber player he was when he played for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Sorry. I loved him when he played in Pittsburgh. He was great. He was phenomenal, but he's not the same player anymore. Move him down to 6 or 7 in the lineup. He still has pop in his bat.
Yeah, but you do have a lot of guys in this lineup that can hit for pop. I mean, why not leave Didi Gregorius off?
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem. I wouldn't have a problem with that. Unfortunately, I don't think the Phillies have a true leadoff guy. I think their hope is that somebody like Scott Kingery could be that guy, but who knows what's going to happen with him. Last year, he was just abysmal. Who knows if he really had COVID? He was flirting with batting 100, and I don't know how you're a professional baseball player and you're flirting with batting 100.
Ramiro Mendoza, the Mendoza line.
Mario Mendoza, the shortstop for the Seattle Mariners.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but juggle the lineup every night if you gotta. See who's coming up with the hot hand and just lead him, put him at the top. That's all. Mix it up. Just don't pull a Tony Relucid putting the pitcher batting eighth.
Well, we'll see. And to answer Dougie's question earlier, he said he thought that the season didn't start until after April 1st. So, no. Spring training, of course, they've already been out here for about 2 weeks. So they've been getting more into it, as everyone had reported this week. First game as far as the home opener, we're talking about down here in Clearwater, Florida. So the home opener will be March 1st. A month later, they travel back up to Citizens Bank Park, and then they'll have their home opener back home on April 1st.
Yes, against the Braves. 305.
Yeah. So
supposedly 6,000 fans. Well, it was passed by Philly. It depends on the state of Pennsylvania about letting fans back in the stadiums.
Hey, let me ask you this. If you're at a Phillies game and a fanatic shoots you a hot dog and you catch that hot dog, are you eating it?
No, not at all.
That didn't take long.
Well, yeah, I think I'm this year I pass on it.
No.
I'm the king of the hot dogs. I stole all the hot dogs when I was a kid. Yeah, I don't know if I'm eating that hot dog coming out of there right now.
I'm sure you would eat it.
Yeah.
Man,
I don't know.
The one thing that of course we can't forget, it is Black History Month, and the one thing that Phillies do is every year they try to at least acknowledge everyone who's been a part of the team, like Gary Maddox, obviously Charlie, or
Dave Cash,
McBride, Jimmy Rollins, Ryan Howard. This year we have Dave Cash, member of the first all-black MLB lineup. So that's one of the ones I remember from Black History Month. And then our second guy being Doug Glanville, the first black Ivy League graduate to play in Major League Baseball. And of course, Doug has gone on to, he's been with the MLB Network for many years now. Does a great job. A lot of times he does fill in for other games, minus the Phillies games. But Doug Glanville, along with Jimmy Rollins has been getting better with the network, and he switches between the MLB Network and then TNT. So both of those guys, thank you again for not only being a part of history in Philadelphia, but to share it within your own right in Black History Month. So thank you so much even for the Phillies acknowledging both of those players as well.
What did Dave Cash come and say? When did he come here? 76. What was his slogan? Yes, we can.
Yeah, sure was.
Angel, you would mention Jimmy Rollins. I want to throw this question out to the fans, and I'll throw it out to the two of you as well, because I know that we're going to talk a little bit about trades. So after the 2014 season, if I'm not mistaken, the Philadelphia Phillies traded Jimmy Rollins to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Do you remember the main player who they got in return?
Mm-hmm.
Who was it?
Zach Eflin.
It was Zach Eflin. Very good. I'm going to ring the bell for that. Yeah, there you go. I'm going to ring the bell for that. So here's the question that I'm going to ask, okay?
Okay.
Have the Phillies gotten their money's worth with that trade at this point? Rollins, once he went to the Dodgers, stayed in the league for 2 more years. He was with the Dodgers for 1 year, and then he was with the White Sox, and then he eventually retired. Zach Eflin has now been with the Phillies for about 5-6 years, and I think his overall record has been 29-32. How long is it going to take before we say that the Phillies made out better in that deal? What more do we need to see out of Zach Eflin, or if the Phillies failed in that deal?
Was that a Ruben Amaro trade? I believe it was.
For Raj 2014. No, I thought Raj was gone by 2014 already.
Yeah,
because it wasn't too far after. Yeah, I'm almost certain he was gone the year before 2012. I'm almost certain when the Phillies got rid of Raj.
Right. Forgot. But you go back to that. It's like Jimmy Rollins was like in the twilight of his career.
But he wasn't. He wasn't. This is 2014. This is 2014 when he was traded. This is years after the 2007 through 2011 when he was at the height of his career. He was hitting, I think 2014, I think he hit like 240 with 13 home runs. It wasn't anything great. So the reason I bring it up is because I know we're going to talk a little bit about some trades. And Zach Eflin is slated most likely to be the number 3 starter in the Phillies rotation and was the number 3 starter last year. So have the Phillies gotten their money's worth for that trade, or do we still think that that's an epic fail of a trade?
Well, just let me say this. Jimmy Rollins, I believe, came up late in the year 2000. His rookie year was 2001? And he won that Rookie of the Year. Am I wrong about that?
I would need to look it up. That sounds about right.
Well, I know he won Rookie of the Year. I believe it was 2001. I believe he did come up in 2000. So.
And what number did he wear? What number did he wear first?
6.
Thank you very much. War number 6. Well done. You can get another belt for that.
But
Where's the appetizers? Let's go.
But by then, I mean, you figure Jimmy was already in the league like 13 years by 2014.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point that I'm trying to make. I think that the Phillies got their money's worth with that deal. You know, look, we'll talk about some of these other awful trades that the Phillies have made a little bit later. But, you know, I think that the Phillies got their money's worth with that trade. Here's Zach Eflin in 2021, still in the league, and he's not some random guy who comes out of the bullpen. He's their number 3 guy in their rotation. And if the Phillies are going to make any push for the wild card or the division title this year, Zach Eflin is going to have to be a key component of that team because you can't rely on Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler 100%. They're going to need that third guy to step up. And hopefully that'll be Eflin this year.
I mean, we shall see. And speaking of, obviously, the worst trade. So, to me, I kind of did it the worst trades for the Phillies, and kind of the spinoff on could be one of the better trades in Phillies, and even maybe one from the Sixers history. So that's where I'm going to kind of add mine. So, Fuji, I'll ask you first. In your opinion, what was at least one of the worst trades in Philly history?
Altogether? Overall, I mean. I would say probably Larry Boa for Ivan De Jesus, and the throw-in was Ryan Sandberg. But, of course, let's just say this. Dallas Green left the Phillies in 1981, took the Cubs general manager's job in 1982, and he knew what players to take to Chicago with him. Whether it was Keith Moreland, Bob Dernier, Dick Ruthven, Gary Matthews, and the list goes on. I'd say the Sandberg throw-in for Boa for De Jesus is probably one of the worst trades. I'm not saying the worst trade, but overall, who the hell knew Ryan Sandberg was going to be a Hall of Famer? What?
Yeah, sorry, Sherman.
Yeah, and that's the way it works out sometimes. I'm going to go to a more recent trade, and I think that a lot of people may have forgotten about this trade, but I know right above me, Fuji Corleone, he's going to remember this trade. It is the Philadelphia Phillies, and they traded to the Chicago White Sox for a guy named Freddie Garcia. And who the Phillies gave up were 2 players. They gave up Gavin Floyd and the player to be named later. That player to be named later was Gio Gonzalez. And I would say that Freddie Garcia's stint in Philadelphia was just an epic fail. And Gio Gonzalez went on to have a couple nice years with the Washington Nationals. Am I going to say it's the worst trade in history? No, but I'm going to bring that one up as a more recent trade.
Well, they got Gio Gonzalez in the trade that sent Jim Thome to the White Sox for Aaron Rowan. If nobody knew that, just saying.
Right. Well, the one that I'll bring up here, and it's actually going to kind of go back to where was David's question. David had put up there that you guys watch many 76ers games. The Celtics had good games against the Sixers in the 80s. Well, ironically, as he talks about that here, I will insert the worst trades in Philly history except for. So for me, one of the ones was, let's see, does it work? There it is. Right. So it wasn't bad for us, but don't get me wrong. And it's weird to see because obviously with Babe Ruth, it used to be before. Now it's trade before it used to be sold. All right. So if those who don't know, obviously you cannot sell another human being, but you can sell their contract. Before it was called now a trade. But Roy Bowe, the owner of the Long Island Nets, sold Dr. J to Philly for $3 million. Then Bowe received no players or assets in return for Irving, who went on to become an 11-time NBA All-Star and one of the best NBA small forwards of all time. Dr. J also put Philadelphia on the map as an NBA city while the Nets were so unpopular. After that trade, the season ticket holders sued and won. And that's an interesting fact, but I did not know until I actually started reading a lot into that stuff. Pretty interesting that the season ticket holders can actually sue the team itself for ticket slump sales. And Dr. J, by the way, I think it was 2 days ago, celebrated his 71st birthday, if I do remember correctly.
Yes.
So that's kind of one of mine here. The other one that I had up there was in switching gears here, if everyone remembers Eric Lindros and what we gave up for Lindros, right? After he held out, we had Peter Forsberg, Ron Hextall, Chris Simon, Mike Ricci, Kerry Huffman, and Steve Duquesne in 2 first-round picks plus $15 million. And how did that work out for Philly? Didn't work out too well because Lindros, of course, was been the superstar, and while Forsberg went on to win the Hart Trophy and a Stanley Cup, so that one didn't bode too well either. Along with that one, of course, and I talked about it earlier, was Cliff Lee was traded to Seattle for absolutely nothing, absolutely nothing, and the only reason why, and Raj came away. Why? Because he signed Doc Holliday, and according to Raj, he said there was no money left over to have both Cliff Lee and Doc Holliday on there. Of course, we found out the following season that what did Raj do? Went back there and picked up Cliff Lee, and we remember it as Merry Cliffmas. For those who remember going back to the 2010 season, 2009, 2010.
Cliff Lee was only making about $8 or $9 million in the last year of that contract.
Right. But he said he couldn't afford it, and that was the bigger one. But I think the most interesting one here, right? And this would be the best thing that we're waiting for. And so we haven't seen it yet, but from what we understand it, and I learned this one today, that Harry Rosen was fired, and you would never guess who became the new GM and who introduced him. Well, Trey Thomas introduced a new GM, which was Vito, not Jersey Shore Corleone. So, Vito, thank you for being part now of the Eagles organization. We do appreciate it.
Where'd you get that picture?
Listen, I can't tell all my secrets, can I?
Where'd you get that at? Facebook?
Yeah.
On here, I should say.
Yeah. So that to me was one of the better and worst ones. Obviously, Eric Lindros was, that was just, it wasn't his parents constantly all the time. You can't do that to my son. Don't hurt my son. The parents were always involved because I believe they were his managers. And he talked about it years later after he was done as far as with hockey. But one of the worst trades, I think, in Philly history for sure, because we got zilch out of it. And we still have yet to win a Stanley Cup going back into the 70s. So,
when they traded him to the Rangers, they did get Kim Johnson, Pavel Brendel, and there was somebody else. Can't remember who the third player was, but he wasn't bad. But by that time, the thing was, I blame both sides with the Flyers. Clark, Lindros, his father was an idiot. And Clark never really put the right players around Lindros. You figure by the time he came back in 2000, after that run, and he scored in Game 6 against Jersey, that team was on fire, and to me, they really didn't. Maybe he did light a spark, but, Game 7, game set match, and Stevens laid him out at the blue line, which the game I ended up being at with Mike's brother Dave. You could hear a pin drop. That's when the divorce was over. Just kind of like the debacle we just got out of with Carson Wentz, pretty much.
Right.
So,
I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's more dumb ones yet to be done because it is Philly, and Philly loves to do things that make absolutely no sense. But hopefully they'll learn as they go along here. We're not too sure. But a couple of clips that I want to bring to you guys before we move on. Of course, we'll get a little small clip, if I still do have it, from Nick Sirianni. It's about 2 minutes long. And he talks about the coaching staff and who he has into place. If you have the time, I believe it's 19 minutes long, and it's on YouTube. For some reason, the Eagles didn't put it out there, the whole entire video, but they did make it available for YouTube. Listen to the entire interview. Obviously, I'm not going to play it tonight because we're already running over as far as our time, which is no big deal because we've had a lot of fun, of course, with the co-host and our guest of the show being the interviewee with Mike Fuji. But if you guys get the opportunity, check out the whole entire video with Nick Sirianni. I like the way he sounds when it comes to picking his coaches and the reason why he picked the ones that he did. So if you do get the chance, sometime over the weekend, just check out on YouTube. Just look for Philadelphia Eagles, Nick Sirianni interview, and then it's a pretty good interview. But I want to bring at least 3 highlights here from spring training. One is with the skipper, and then you got Reese Scott Kingery. And as a bonus, if you ever thought about being at the plate and watching one of these pitchers throw the ball, you'd be surprised what the catcher can. But here's a skipper.
You have that out here too? No. I'll bring them both. I got JT and Nappy. Yeah. It's nicer now than 10 minutes ago when I walked out.
I know, it's nicer now. It's supposed to rain at 11.
Mic'd up today, so.
Good old compliant then.
Yeah.
I gotta stand up.
We didn't do all this. It's amazing.
Coming back.
And we stretched ourselves too. We didn't have a guy to stretch us.
Hey, my first big league camp, you just stretched me out. Was the guy the other. Hopalong Cassidy.
Hopalong Cassidy, Heisman Trophy winner. Think he knew a little something about stretching? Running back, the Ohio State.
21 days.
Create a habit. That's all it takes. Yeah. So you can learn to like a food you don't like in 21 days.
Just gotta eat it
Every day. 21 days to create a habit. You got a good move? Oh, JT flinched. You could use your block move on JT. You would have got him.
What's that?
Buckle that knee and then spin. You would have got him. There you got him.
I stepped off.
Yeah. Was that one?
That was one.
It took you that long to walk back? We're going the wrong way, by the way.
Now, one of the cooler things of being down here in Clearwater is it obviously, thanks again to COVID, normally you can go down by the box office and then there's the playing fields where you can see them practice. Most of the times they do let you hang up there. The only thing they won't allow you to do, obviously, is record. You can take a picture as they're closing out the practices. But the neat thing is a lot of times you can when they're watching and stuff. And that was the first day when they got to warm up together before the entire roster was there. So that morning it had rained. It was 45 degrees, I want to say, by 8 o'clock in the morning. But then by lunchtime, it got up to about 75. So that's how quick the weather changes down here in Florida during spring training. So that's the skipper. And then the next one that we're going to see is Reese during the warm-ups.
If you got something that you want someone to hear, now's your chance.
Dude, I remember getting the original game, the red, Pokemon Red, on the whatever Game Boy.
Game Boy Color. Pretty sure I got the Costco pack for Christmas.
Yeah.
Game Boy, game, case. Huh?
You guys remember?
I mean, how could you not be? You want to wave high?
Way high.
Right here.
Oh,
Gonna be on TV.
that's the way they mic
That's
you?
it, right here.
That's the guy that mic you?
Yeah.
That's pretty good, huh?
Tired.
You tired?
Let's go.
Welcome to camp. You know it's gonna be a lot of running.
Training for a marathon.
Interesting to say that Reese was saying he was tired, but obviously, if you can see the theme here, and obviously going along with Scott Kingery, it's because right now, Joe Girardi tries to tell him to enjoy the time. You know, we are going to be disciplined. It is a marathon, but enjoy the time together.
I'm a proponent of tight pants, but you know, it's got to be the right fit. I know, I'm kind of clamming up, guys, because I'm, you know, it's freezing, yeah. Because of the mic or just the heat? Could be. Yeah, you got to watch the left fielder field it cleanly, throw it in cleanly. Stop. Now going mute. Oops. Bad work. Big fella. Jeez. Is that coaching right there, JD?
It's definitely.
That's coaching.
Yeah, the little jab.
The negative reinforcement?
Yeah, the negative
Ooh.
reinforcement.
That's nice. Northern white ash.
Northern white.
From the true north.
Got more pop?
Sorry?
You got more pop?
Oh, believe it.
Swing it.
So, I mean, at least the guys warming up. They're trying to get loose out there. As you can see, they're working with some also the lower A down here in Clearwater, because as everyone knows, there was no minor league baseball last season, which killed a lot of the teams this year trying to make trades and move up who they were going to move up. So this year, they're planning on having the full season for minor league baseball. So it'd be nice to get back down to the ballpark. And then the last one here that I'm going to end up showing, if you know how you go to the batting cages and of course you got the helmet and they protect you and all the good fun stuff, but imagine this type of velocity coming at you if you're standing at the plate. So good stuff from the Phillies. I mean, that's some pretty good power that comes from the pitcher.
No, yeah. I mean, 90 plus in that range. Just to see that ball, whether it's going to be a curveball, changeup, slider, whatever have you.
Yeah. Now, we're going to switch gears here real quick, of course, because we can't go. We're going to talk about a former Eagles, which will be the last thing we'll end up talking about, which is Carson Wentz's goodbye letter. And he was apparently at the Indianapolis facility today, and I believe it was just for his physical because he can't be with the team until March 17th, which is the beginning of the NFL season. So he can't report until then, but good luck to Carson as he goes out there. But I want to bring up the video here with Nick Sirianni. Again, it's not the full one. It's a very small clip that he talks about, and he's asked the question about how did you go about getting the choices that you have as far as your coaches?
Coaching staff as this offseason ramps up. It is completed. It is a process. Can you describe how you got to know all of these guys? Are they previous relationships you had in the coaching world? Are they references? Are they just flat out cold interviews that guys impressed you?
I think the answer is yes to all those things, right? You know, you have a variety of guys on the staff that I've had previous relationships with. And I think I've mentioned this before, that when you have that previous relationship with that person, right, you've essentially, let's say you've spent a year or 2 years or 3 years or 4 years with that person. They've had a 3 or 4 year interview process, right? So, you know, you want the best people on your staff that help develop the players. That's what it's all about. Then there's guys that you've heard about through other people, or, you know, somebody else that might not be a direct contact to me, but maybe somebody on the staff. You know, so it was always about the interview process. And then it was the vetting of that person, calling around. It wasn't too much to call 10, 15, 20 people to see that have worked with that coach in the past and see if, you know, what, if that all checks out, if what you're hearing is checking out from the people that have spent that year or two with that person. So great process. And again, some of the guys we didn't know at all. Nobody knew. It was just, hey, this is a good coach. He's available. You know, this is a good coach in the college game. He's available. This is a good coach in the NFL game. He's available. Okay, let's go through that same interview process and let's go through that same vetting process. So what an experience. We got to learn a lot of ball, right? We're asking the questions, but then, you know, oh man, that was a good idea. Oh, that was a good idea. Like, we got to learn a lot of ball, and that's what we do. We're ball coaches. So it was a great process. It was long and it was tedious, but I know it made us better as a staff. We got the right pieces in my mind in here. And then it's made us better as a staff. We were just talking ball day in, day out.
So I thought that was pretty interesting the way that, as far as the interview. And again, if you get the opportunity, by all means, please tune in on YouTube and check out Coach Nick Sirianni's interview. I mean, to me, Dave Spadaro did a good job as far as the interview itself and how he breaks down every coach that they interviewed. You know, obviously not going into detail because then you were talking about like a 5-hour show. But for the details he put down there, how he found them, how he interacted with them, you want to get to go know Coach Sirianni, tune into a YouTube clip. So hopefully, I don't know if you guys took anything out of there, but it seems like Nick is more personal. And we heard this from Michael Terrazas from the Indianapolis Colts. It seems like he's a lot more in tune. He's a lot more engaged, as Michael said. He just wants the right pieces in the place. Now, do we expect for the Eagles to be a 500 team next year? Who knows? I mean, the NFC least who knows what can end up happening. But I like where Nick Sirianni's head is at as far as like what he wants to look out for, the players, the coaches involved, even the front office. So I think for the Eagles coming up for the 2021 campaign will definitely be a lot better than 2020. I don't know how you guys think.
Well, he's 39 years old, and the young guys, the young coaches, it seems to be going that way rather than the retreads of yesteryear, like Sean McVay, Kingsbury with the Cardinals, this is Packers coach. Like the young guys, what's Sean McVay, like 35, 36 years old? Look how much of an offensive guru he is.
Right.
I mean, God knows the sky's the limit with Matt Stafford compared to what he had with Jared Goff. But I mean, I just, I think it's going to be, pretty optimistic with Nick Sirianni. I mean, it all depends on what that guy down there does. I mean, I'm not about to never mind. I'm not getting into that story today.
Look, guys, here's the glass half full with the Eagles. Number one, they're playing a last place schedule next year. And I know that the 49ers were bad last year, and they'll potentially come back to Super Bowl form from a couple years ago. But the Eagles are playing a last place schedule compared to the first place schedule that they played this year. Secondly, they have the number 6 pick in the draft. Now, we know that Howie has had a tendency to mess these picks up, but they have the number 6 pick in the draft. Let's try to get behind Howie Roseman, and let's try to have faith in him that he's going to make a good pick. Aside from that, Alshon Jeffrey gone, Deshaun Jackson gone, Carson Wentz gone. So it's a lot of salary that's gone. So I think, Angel, that they are going to be better than they were last year. Are they going to be Super Bowl contenders? Probably not. But you make a great point. They're in the NFC least. And it's not like that. Look, I've said that Washington, the Giants, and the Dallas are all on the way up. But it's not like they're Super Bowl contending teams at this point. So, with a couple astute moves, and the last place schedule that they play next year, they could be right back in the mix of things of potentially winning the NFC least. I'm not saying that they're on the same level as the Packers, the Saints, or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But, there definitely should be some improvement next year.
All right. Well, I will bring up our last point here because I know that Mike is chomping at the bit, especially when you mentioned his best friend, Howie Roseman, because he's there. He's waiting. He's like, yeah, go ahead.
Actually, I did run into Howie Roseman today. No lie.
Well, that's true.
I work in Center City, and apparently I forgot he goes to a dentist office right around the corner on the same floor I work on. Because he had a mask, and I was like taken back, like, it's you. Like, I didn't say nothing. But he just walked by, and my thoughts were like, what the hell are you doing here? But
you should have invited him to come on our program.
I should have tackled him and smacked some sense into the idiot. But nah, I don't know. But it was just, who the hell? All of a sudden, Howie Rosen walking by you down the hallway. But I did want to slap, whatever out of him, but I'd lose my job, and that's not happening. Not for that idiot.
Yeah, I agree. But we got Wentz's letter here. In case no one saw this is on Instagram, and I'll read it to you guys out there, to you, the viewers. So, what a journey. More than anything, I will miss my teammates. Thank you. I appreciate every one of you and will never forget the relationships and memories we made over the years. So many lifelong relationships have been formed in that locker room. Thank you for the fellowship, the camaraderie in the locker room, and the daily battles out on the practice field. To the city of Philadelphia, thank you. You have been my home for the past 5 years. It has been everything a kid from Bismarck, North Dakota could have dreamed of. My family grew here, had a lot of fun, ate a lot of great food, got to be part of an incredible church, and so many memories off the field. On the field, we brought the Marty Trophy home to Philly and hopefully brought a lot of joy to the city over the years. Thank you to the amazing Eagles fans across the world that have supported my family, our foundation, and our football team through all of the wins and losses. It was an honor to play in a city whose passion and love for their football team is unrivaled. Thank you for supporting my family and the AO1 Foundation. We hope we made a positive impact in the communities in Philly and look forward to continuing our efforts to impact the area. Thank you to the Eagles organizations for drafting me and making my NFL dream come true. Thank you, Mr. Lurie, Howie Roseman, and the Eagles front office, Coach Peterson, and all of my coaches, our training staff, our equipment staff, and all of the support staff at the NovaCare Complex. It has been an amazing journey, and I wish you all the best. As one chapter closes, another one begins. I'm excited to join the Indianapolis Colts and look forward to the work ahead. God's plan. So I find it kind of interesting and almost seems not too genuine, I guess. It was more like someone's got a letter for me. Good, I'll read it. That's kind of the way it came across for me. And I could be wrong, but and I know Carson, we heard that obviously 8 to 9 weeks, him and Doug Peterson didn't talk. I know he's excited about going to the Colts. Some people feel he'll win the Super Bowl out there with the Colts, but to me, the letter, it's not the ones that we've seen from guys here in the past. I mean, Deshaun Jackson just put out a thank you, obviously, because he knew he was going to come back. But even when Deshaun was gone, it may have taken him a year to say thank you to us, but I think his was a lot more sincere. Granted, of course, he was here a lot longer than obviously Carson Wentz. I don't know. I just, me personally, I thought it was like, kind of a letter.
No, I don't. Going back to it, all the criticism and just this whole turmoil leading up to the trade last week. I mean, it goes back to Nick Foles winning the Super Bowl, Nick Foles and Doug Peterson with the statue outside the link. Like, I was listening to Jason Avant, who basically said it all pretty much started in 2018. It was, Nick Foles being the god that he is now in the city, winning the Super Bowl. And, I just think it was in the back of his head that the pressure was twice as much on him. And in the grand scheme of it, I don't really know if Wentz could play in the city. I mean, this is one of the biggest, toughest sports cities to play in America. New York, Boston, Philly. But, to come from where he did, being the man that he was, not being criticized as a college quarterback, and, just pretty much it's like, I don't want to say the fan base turned on him, but, there are Wentz fans and there were Nick Foles fans, but I just think the pressure was so great that and to me, any quarterback that had a set of brass ones would have welcomed the competition to Jalen Hurts. But then again, on the flip side of it, they gave Wentz the contract as a payment of good faith. But then you turn around and draft Jalen Hurts second overall, I'd be like, what's this guy? Wentz should have embraced it, taken the season by the horns and just ran with it. But then again, I'm not making excuses, but when you're sacked 50 times, no training camp, no OTAs, no mini camps. I mean, how do you get a rapport down with your teammates? I mean, I blame the Eagles and I blame Wentz. So that's my take of it. Mike?
Look, you look at that letter that Wentz wrote, whether he wrote it or whether somebody wrote it for him, and he used all the correct buzzwords. He talked about the Lombardi Trophy. He talked about thanking the fans. He talked about management. He talked about making my NFL dream come true. I don't know what more Carson Wentz could have said differently. The fan base had already made their decision. A majority of the fan base had already made their decision about Carson Wentz that, he was the one that was dividing the locker room. He was the one that was having such a terrible season and that it was time for him to go. I just don't know what Carson Wentz could have said to the point where we said, wow, that was really heartfelt. Because he mentioned so many things that I think anybody else would say. And it's unfortunate because sometimes when you're reading something, you don't have the opportunity to look at the body language and the tone of how he's saying it. Carson Wentz could have been shedding tears as he was writing that letter. Could have been tears of joy that he's out of Philadelphia and now going to Indianapolis, a team that seems to be on their way to the playoffs again next year. But, he talked about a lot of things, and that's really not fair to Carson Wentz. But I'll be honest, when I first read the letter, I said, it's kind of generic. There wasn't any, major feel of oh, I'm so sad to see Carson go. But objectively, he used all the buzzwords. He brought up all the talking points that should have been brought up. The majority of the fan base, in my opinion, already had their final destiny for Carson Wentz laid out for him. So that's my take on the situation.
I just think it's sad, the Eagles traded everything, what they gave up to move up to number 2. Drafting Wentz second overall in the 2016 draft as a cornerstone franchise quarterback, you would have thought would have been here 10 to 12 years, and then this just happens.
That trade got us an eventual Super Bowl. So
all right,
be careful what you wish for, right? They traded all these picks and move up to number 2. And even though Carson Wentz got hurt and Nick Foles was the magic man who gave us the Super Bowl and the playoffs, it might be another 50 years before we get back to the Super Bowl or even win it. So
yeah, but without Carson Wentz going 11-2 and being the undisputed MVP that season, there wouldn't be no Super Bowl in Philadelphia. So I'm going to say this. Thank you, Carson Wentz, for doing what you did. We'd still be without no Super Bowl here if you didn't hand the reins over to Nick Foles. Thank you. Appreciate your talent. Like I said, Nick Foles, you're the man. But Carson Wentz got you to 11-2 before the ACL injury.
Wait, so was it the right move for the Eagles to make that trade to move up to number 2?
Obviously it was, because will we be talking about Super Bowl 52?
Well, whose decision was that? Was that Rosen or was that Lurie?
Rosen, I believe.
So, we got to call it like it is, straight down the middle. If you want to bash Rosen with all the bad picks that he's made over the years, if Rosen was the one who was integral in making that trade to get Carson Wentz to Philly,
Well, you got to remember Howie was put in the back, and he jumped back up in the GM seat to get everything right and turned around, which he did. He made the right move. He made the right moves for 2017. That's why I got this Lombardi in back of me. Without that, we don't have no Super Bowl. We don't have no 3-4 million people at the biggest parade in Philadelphia history. So I'll leave it at that, and that's the bottom line.
Again, I will say thank you to Carson Wentz myself, for being here and doing what he did. I hope he has nothing but luck with the Colts, and who knows, maybe he'll finally win one by himself without the fans or anyone else getting on his case. So we'll see. But thank you, gentlemen, of course, for tonight, episode 35, and you out there, thank you for watching the show as well. Thank you also to Last Down Media and For the Bay Clothing Company. So we will see everyone here next week, same time at 7:30. So for Mike Sherman, the sports contributor, Mike Fuji, Vito Corleone, Fiordimando, we thank you very much. And everyone out there watching, yes.
Angel Martinez, the host.
Yeah. So thank you guys, and have a great, sorry. I see 2 comments coming in real quick before we get done here. Thank you, David. Great job, guys. And Tom, thank you. Great show today, guys. We really do appreciate it. So thank you, guys. We will see you guys next week. Enjoy your weekend and be safe.